everybody, welcome to the Dixon. My name's Julie Pierotti and I am the curator here. And when you come to visit the Dixon, we require that you wear masks, but since it's just you and me in here, I'm gonna take my mask off so you can hear me better. Okay, so like I said, I'm Julie, I'm the curator here, and I am so happy to welcome you to the Dixon. For those of you who haven't visited us yet, we are a museum and public garden here in East Memphis. We're right at Park and Cherry, and we have been around for 45 years. This is our 45th anniversary year. We are the fruition of the vision of our founders, Margaret and Hugo Dixon. The Dixons were really visionary philanthropists here in Memphis and passionate collectors of French Impressionism and Post-Impressionism. So those styles form the core of our collection, though we've grown over the years from our original 28 works of art that the Dixons left us to more than 2,000 objects today. So I hope you will come visit us. This summer is actually the perfect time to come because we are shaking things up a little bit. You know, most of you know us for our Impressionism, but this summer, as you see around me, we are exploring Memphis contemporary art through this wonderful exhibition called Memphis 2021. So we are taking a look at the variety, the brilliancy, and really the joy of art in Memphis. So we have 20 artists represented in this exhibition. So that's a lot of different artists, but I really feel like the show is cohesive. It has really come together as an exhibition that celebrates the vibrancy of our own arts community. So I thought we'd walk around the exhibition a little bit and talk about the artists that are in the show and the styles of art that the artists here in Memphis are making. So come along with me and we'll take a little spin around the galleries. So in addition to paintings and works on paper and textiles in this exhibition, we also have sculpture and wood relief sculpture by May Hour. May is a Memphis native who's actually garnering a national reputation for her wooden relief sculptures like Aging Remedy that's behind us. May commonly takes icons from world history really and reinterprets them through her 21st century eye. Okay, so this is her fountain of youth, Aging Remedy, and what we're looking at is actually individual pieces of wood that she's sanded down. They're so smooth, they're like velvet, really, or like leather. They have a real smooth texture to them, and paints them and kind of puts them together almost like a puzzle and creates these really engaging, visually seductive works of art. Her Fountain of Youth, May's Fountain of Youth, actually has a sound element to it. So there is, if you stand pretty close to it, you can hear kind of the trickle of water coming behind it too. Her work is really engaging. It's really clever and fun. And we're very proud to be showing her work here at the Dixon this summer. So I'm standing in front of Alex Paulus's paintings here in the Plow Gallery at the Dixon. Alex is such a great guy. He's really fun and funny and charming and witty, really, and that definitely comes through in his work. Alex's paintings also have a real strong element of nostalgia in them, and you can see that in things like the bouncy castle that's behind me, and of course Plinko. Those of you who, when you were sick as a kid, spent the day at your grandmother's house watching Price is Right will remember Plinko. So I think that those elements of nostalgia help us as viewers connect with his works of art, and then you really get to spend time with them and see the humor in them and also the technical skill that Alex's work displays. One of the things I'm really proud about with this exhibition is the number of art educators that we have represented in here. So in addition to being a painter, Alex is also head of the art department at Southwest. And so I think that's really exciting to see these artists who are really talented and clever and fun, training our next generation of artists in Memphis. So when we do Memphis 2031, we have artists like Alex Paulus to thank for that. So I thought it would be fun to look at one of Alex's paintings up close, just to kind of tease you into coming to see the show. This painting is called His is Better Than His. And here is these two kind of stranded vacationers. So a lot of Alex's paintings take place in these really kind of ideal settings, really exotic locales. So we have all these palm trees here and everything, and this beautiful picturesque mountain in the distance. But these two men here are stranded and trying to call for help. So here's this guy's kind of proud of his little SOS here, and then he looks over and his friend has made one that's much bigger. So it's just that little bit of humor that Alex incorporates into all of his work. But also I really love the texture of his paintings. When you get to the palm trees here, it almost looks like they've been, finger painted. They have that real thick, buttery impasto to them. And then kind of the smoother texture of the painting above. So there's a nice contrast in his paintings that I really find visually appealing. One of my favorite things about Memphis 2021 is a lot of the work is big. So we have a lot of large scale works of art, which for us is really kind of unusual because if you think about Impressionist paintings, usually they're kind of easel size. So it's really, really fun for us to have large works of art in here. So I thought we'd talk a little bit about the two painters that I have behind me. Over here we have Frances Berry. Frances started out as a photographer. That's how I first came to know her, but she switched to painting a few years ago, and I really love what she's doing. A lot of her work is, I think influenced by urban art, by graffiti, and that comes through in her work, but she uses that style, that kind of rougher style of painting to interpret kind of classically feminine subjects. So you see floral still life, female nudes. Subjects like that pop up in her work, but it gets translated through this really kind of urban graffiti influenced style of painting. And Frances is a great artist for you all to get to know. I encourage you with all of the artists in this exhibition, look them up. Most of them have social media accounts that you can follow and really engage with their work that way and support them. Over here, we have another artist that we love having here in Memphis. His name is Roger Cleves. Roger's a really good guy, and his work is really unique, okay? Roger also writes fiction, and he creates kind of serialized works of art, so almost like comic strips. And that practice of his really shows up in his work. So you see symbols, cartoon-like symbols that appear in his paintings. A lot of times they're kind of ominous. His work is really influenced by the Afrofuturism movement, which is a movement among Black artists and writers that instead of exploring their past experiences, they're looking toward the future. And a lot of times that future is kind of influenced by science fiction, so things are always a little weird in those types of paintings, and I think in Roger's works you can see that as well. So there's these kind of fantastical creatures that populate his paintings. Symbols like storm clouds or rainbows with funny colors to them are often appear in his work as well. There's a lot going on. So this is kind of maximalism at its best. There's no empty spaces in Roger's painting. So there's a lot to see. And we have four really great examples of his work on view in Memphis 2021. So one of the artists that we have represented in the show is Mary Kay Van Giesen. Mary Kay was an art educator here in Memphis for a long time, so if any of you went to Kirby High School or Germantown High School, you might recognize the name. Mary Kay is a really multifaceted artist, and I love that about her. She explores printmaking, sculpture, book arts, writing, all different approaches to art making. We have her garden tools on view in Memphis 2021. I love having them because, as you all know, we are a museum and a 17-acre public garden. So gardening is, 50% of our mission here. So these tools are very, commonly seen around the gardens here. So what Mary Kay has done is taken these old rusted garden tools and kind of breathed new life into them by crocheting different aspects of each sculpture. So what I love about that is we get this kind of push-pull dynamic, okay, a really strong contrast in here on a number of levels. So on the physical side, we have kind of the hard texture of the metal part of each tool, and then the softness of the yarn, so that contrast there. We also have a contrast between the exterior, the outside work of gardening, and the interior. The crocheting is generally thought of as something, a pastime that you engage in inside. Also the masculine and the feminine. So the masculine connotations of manual labor and the feminine connotations of crocheting or needlework. So that all those kind of contrasts come together in this tools series that she's been working on lately, and I love them. I also love the shadows that you get when we, now that we've hung them on the wall in this fun arrangement and get our lights on them. They cast some really fun shadows that I think are really engaging as well. We have a special surprise for all visitors to Memphis 2021. Memphis artist Justin Bowles has created a really fun and exciting installation in the Crump Gallery right behind me. Justin works primarily with paper, and she creates really wonderful, brilliant works of art out of paper. And so for Memphis 2021, she created a special room, a special garden. It's called Bedizin Park 84, and this room is an homage to the respite that gardening offered her and so many of us during lockdown last year. I think, Memphis is such a beautiful city. We have such a great community for gardening, and I think a lot of people really dug in last year to gardening. And for her, that was her creative outlet. And what she's created in the Crump Gallery here is a pleasure garden that's created primarily out of paper. She uses really accessible materials. Okay, so just like construction paper, wrapping paper, mylar sometimes, cupcake liners, everything you see on view in this installation is something that we can all engage in. And so I think her work really is inspiring. It teaches all of us that we can get creative with whatever materials we have around us. You probably can hear a little bit of the music in the background. So Justin's friends are in a band called Gray Balloon, and they created a soundscape to accompany Bedizin Park 84. And the music is really kind of a journey in and of itself. So it kind of goes through the emotions that so many of us experienced last year. So we start with kind of this sometimes it can be kind of discordant or harsh. And I think that's how a lot of us felt in March and April of 2020. And then it goes to kind of a peaceful sound and then ends with joyful music. So it's kind of, walking around this room and listening to the music is like being on, kind of reliving the journey of 2020 and 2021. So I think you'll all love it. Visitors of all ages have really loved being in this space, and I know y'all will too. So you may have noticed at this point that pink is a color that appears in a lot of the works of art in Memphis 2021, and you can definitely see it in the two works of art behind me. They're by Joanna Moscoso, who is a Colombian artist who now calls Memphis home. These two works of art are part of a series that Joanna has been working on called the Ingrid Lopez Project. And Ingrid Lopez was a member of Joanna's family who died a few years ago. And at Ingrid's funeral, Joanna came to learn what a pivotal person Ingrid was in her community and how many lives she touched. And based on that experience, she really started taking on this project of exploring Ingrid's life and her impact in works of art. So what she's done is taken garments from Ingrid's closet. So some of you know, if you've lost someone close to you, that that person's clothes can sometimes be the hardest thing to let go of. You know, they remind you of certain times with that person, they smell like that person. And so I think these works of art, knowing that, are really emotional. She's taken pieces of her garment, so you can see them here, and stitched them together with really brightly colored threads. And the result is, in some ways they remind us of string art from like the 1970s, but in other ways they're kind of like maps that show us this spread of influence that each of us has, particularly Ingrid Lopez, but when you think about it on a larger level, the spread of influence that all of us have and how we are all kind of woven together in whatever community we're in, but here in Memphis, how interconnected we are. So I think these are really, beautiful works of art. They are engaging. We can all kind of relate to them. And so I really encourage you to come spend time with them. I love that Memphis 2021 showcases artists that are exploring new media. So I'm standing in front of Nick Hewlett's work. Nick produces digital illustrations that he prints on high quality photo paper. And I'm excited about his work because I think it's fun. I think it's, again, accessible. A lot of us kind of doodle around on our computers sometimes. And it's kind of inspiring to see what an artist can make using that format, I think. So Nick's work is also very nostalgic. There's a lot of nostalgia in his work. So you see like a class picture of students in Catholic school uniforms, and I think that's something some of us can relate to, certainly me. And then some other works, like the one right here is called Galactic Patron Saint. And this patron saint is generally, I think, the patron saint of the past year of 2020 and 2021. You see he's wearing a mask, and he's got a roller coaster behind him, kind of like the roller coaster ride that was 2020. And then he's holding these sticks that release almost like a jump rope. And so he's really fun and something I think we can all relate to. And then behind me over here, we have a painting called, or a digital illustration, called Sacred Steel. And this work of art represents Nick's memories of growing up on Sundays, going to church with his grandfather, and then they'd go home and watch wrestling. So some of us longtime Memphians remember, watching wrestling on TV was such a big deal. So we see here's the church here, you're in the church in the pew, and here's our upside down wrestling ring. And then a TV dinner right in the middle. So again, these are all things that we can relate to here. I like that he connects the pageantry and the theater of wrestling with those same aspects of church services. I think that's really clever and fun. And I just think these are brilliant works of art. I'm really proud to be showing them. All of the artists on view in Memphis 2021 are so nice and so cool. We've been very lucky, Memphis is very lucky to have a really supportive arts community. So a lot of our artists here in town are all kind of cooperative. They all work together really well and encourage each other. And perhaps the nicest artist in Memphis is Danny Broadway. Danny is an educator here in town, art educator, and has been working for years creating. His works of art are beloved by so many people because they take place in the past. A lot of them do historically, in this kind of storied past. So sometimes they feel like a little bit out of a fairy tale almost. This new body of work by Danny is really a little bit different and taking a step into a more contemporary setting. So generally his paintings take place in this kind of landscape that looks straight out of a children's book. But for this current body of work, we see this kind of kaleidoscopic background that's abstracted that I really love. The figures in his paintings still have a little bit of an element of nostalgia to them. So we see the figure behind us with this kind of old school type hat on, and the men in the painting behind me, diaspora, all kind of have a look to them like they're from the 1930s. My favorite work of art by Danny is the one at the end with all the figures with their hands up in the air, and there's this really strong and really effective contrast between the colors of the background, and some of that is created with like a metallic ink or a metallic paint that he uses, so it reflects light, while at the same time the figures that are in black, that are left on the black paper, absorb light, so that creates a really nice depth to this work of art that's otherwise would just be on this 2D piece of paper. And the bright colors, the kaleidoscope, are joyful. I think a lot of his work is hopeful and optimistic, and I really love that about Danny, and particularly this new body of work that we're showing here at the Dixon. I am so excited to introduce you all to the work of Rick Nietzsche. Rick is Chicago born and raised, but lives in Collierville with his sister, and rides his bike to the Collierville Town Square and records in his works of art the trains that pass by. So all of us in Memphis, particularly East Memphis, kind of live and die by the train, okay? It's the best excuse to be late anywhere is I got caught by the train. So trains are such a big part of our life here, and that's one of the many reasons I love Rick's work. Okay, so you wouldn't look at this and right off the bat say, oh, that's a train. They're really almost abstracted views of the different train lines that come through Memphis, and they're created using simple materials. So just drawing paper, large drawing paper, ballpoint pen, and markers. So how we know these are trains, the first bit at the top left of each work of art has kind of an angle to it, and that's the engine that starts the train. So this is a diptych. That means just two works of art that go together. And at the end, we go all the way over here, at the end is the red light. So at the bottom right of each finished work of art is a red light that symbols the end of the train. Isn't that fun? And the cars are colored for each train line and the different color cars that go by. And sometimes you see there's coal cars or double-decker train cars in Rick's works of art. So they're really fun and I think kind of lighthearted. But at the same time, as you stand behind them, if you take a step away from them, they look like abstract art. So geometric abstractions or even tapestries. They vibrate with the color that he uses and the way that he kind of alternates the colors in his works of art. So I guarantee you've not seen anything like this before, and I'm really proud to be showing his work. And all of the artists, I'm proud to be showing all of the artists on view in Memphis 2021. So I hope y'all have enjoyed this little spin through the show. I really encourage you to come and spend time with these, get to know these artists. The show, Memphis 2021, is on view at the Dixon through July 11th. So you've got a little time to come see it. And just so you all know, we are offering free admission to the Dixon through the end of the year. So there's really nothing holding you back from coming to visit. So we have our show, Memphis 2021. We have our permanent collection that's always on view. And of course, we have 17 acres of beautiful, lush gardens that are great for picnicking. Bring your kids and kick the soccer ball, whatever, and just explore the beauty of our gardens. So that's it for our tour. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been a pleasure walking through the galleries with you. And now I'm going to kick it over to our Q&A portion. Thanks, guys.